Matthew 16:18. Kago de soi lego, hoti su e petras, kai epi taute te petra, oikada meso mu ten ecclesian, kai pulai hadu u katiskususen autes. Remember that Peter has confessed Jesus as the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus said to him, "This was revealed to you by my Father in the heavens." And Jesus continues speaking to him, "Now and I, or also I, say to you that you are Peter, and upon this rock," and notice you are Petros, upon this Petra, you are rocky, and upon this rock I will build my church. And the gates of Hades, the gates of hell, the gates of death will not prevail, will not overcome it. Okay, the last verb we have here in the verse is katiskususen. And even if you don't know that, as soon as you see the sigma at the end there, you say, I bet that is a future. You look at the ending, I bet that's a future active indicative, third person plural, and you would be correct. It's third person plural, matching the subject gates here. The plural gates of Hades will, notice negated, will not prevail, will not overcome it. Maybe you don't know the lexical form because it only occurs 3 times in the New Testament, but it's katiskuo. Occurs once in Matthew, 2 times in the Gospel of Luke. You can transparently see there that root, the iskus, the word for strong, and the kat, that's strong against, overcome, prevail. So maybe that will help you remember that, katiskuo. If you look it up in a good lexicon, it will probably say something like plus genitive or plus tinos, plus something in the genitive, because it takes a genitive object or genitive complement. That's what we find right there. That's why that's in the genitive. This word autes is feminine and singular because the antecedent, ekklesion, is feminine singular, but the reason that autes is genitive is the verb katiskuo takes a genitive object. So again, this last little phrase here, the gates of Hades will not overcome, will not prevail against it. Well, this is a much debated verse in terms of meaning in the history and in different Christian traditions. It's probably necessary for me to say something about my opinion. I know many other opinions on it, so not necessary for you to email me and try to convince me of yours, but I'll just briefly give mine. So I think that there's a play on words here. Obvious, you are rocky, and upon this rock, and that's referring to actually the person of Peter. And Jesus is recognizing Peter and confessing him as the Christ, the Son of the living God, that Peter takes this lead role among the apostles. It's undeniable in the first half of the book of Acts, Peter takes a prominent lead role. That doesn't mean he's more important than the other apostles, but I would say he's first among equals. It's also significant, isn't it, that we know from even just a few verses later that when Peter deviates from the gospel, that he's rebuked by Jesus. He's just a few verses later when Peter deviates from God's ordained plan for the Messiah. In his words to Jesus, Jesus says, "Get thee behind me, Satan." Also, we see in Galatians 2 when Peter's not living in accord with the gospel, Paul rebukes him publicly, corrects him. So I don't think this means that Peter is infallible on everything he does. Obviously, when he was inspired to write the letters we know as 1st and 2nd Peter, those are inerrant scripture, they're without error, but it doesn't mean that everything Peter does is infallible, and it also doesn't mean there's a succession plan for someone else to take the role of, first among the apostles, right? The apostles were literal eyewitnesses of Jesus, and I don't think that's an office that continues after the death of those living eyewitnesses.